Michael, INXS have been going for, 10 years now, and have made massive impacts in most parts of the world, apart from Britain. How big are you in Australia? I mean, what kind of venues are you doing?
The last 4 or 5 years, I guess, we've been doing the biggest venues we can find.
How big are they?
Well, I guess we do about 5 nights at a 12 or 13,000 seater.
What's it like doing something like that? Is that actually what you set out to do when you formed the group?
Not really. We set out to try and get one gig when we first started. Get out of the garage, you know. But it ends up that you just keep on doing bigger places over the years.
You did pub gigs in Australia, but that's quite different to doing pub gigs over here.
Oh, yeah, totally different. People don't understand that. A pub in Australia is about 2,000 or 3,000 people. And it's like tiles, and they hose it down at the end of the night. That doesn't have the nice, jolly atmosphere of a pub.
Well, it's a bit hostile.
Yeah, it can be out in the suburbs, you know, western suburbs. It's pretty rough.
Yes. Harley-Davidson motorcycle.
Harley-Davidson motorcycle.
The ultimate bike?
The new ones are okay. I've got a new one. I'm going to get an old one next.
What kind of one?
A really old one, like a 40s, 50s style.
Are they better?
They look better. They're worth more. And they've got more nostalgia attached to them, you know.
What are the speed limits in Australia for riding bikes and things? How does it work out?
It's 110 k's.
110 kilometres, which is about 45 mile per hour, 50 mile per hour?
Yeah.
And that's everywhere?
That's the speed limit. And that's, you know, if you get out to the bush, you can do anything you like, I suppose. There's no cops out there.
Well, what's the fastest you've been on a bike? Or is that, can't you tell me there?
Oh, yeah, no, I suppose I've done about 240 k's.
Great. Is that about 120 mile per hour?
Yeah.
What's that feel like?
Dangerous. It was on a track, racing. That's. I think we're averaging, you know, that was our top speed, 250, 240. So signs come up to you very quickly.
You just got the one Harley.
Yeah. I've got another bike as well. I've got a Japanese bike.
What's that?
Shame. A Katana.
Katana?
Yeah, Suzuki Katana.
Is that a road? Oh, it's
like
a road
one
bike.
of them. Yeah.
What's the difference between riding something kind of a Japanese bike?
These are two most opposite motorcycles you could find. That goes very well. That's a nice touring motorcycle. Smooth, handles well, good engine. These things it's just a trip, you know. They just plod along.
Are you a poser then? Is that why you want something like that?
Probably a little bit of a poser, yeah. But I don't know. I've wanted one since I can remember. So I guess I could have been more of a poser and got a Porsche or something.
Yeah.
At least I got a Harley.
INXS typical of like the new breed of bands who have, I suppose, if you like, a political consciousness. At least you're aware of things that are going on. Do you have a sort of a corporate policy for the band? Do you sit down and say, okay, this is our strategy? Do you have a manifesto?
I guess in a sense we do, because we tend to plan, you know, a year or two ahead at a time, as far as just that side goes. But we also discuss things. I mean, a lot of it's left up to me because I'm writing a lot of the lyrics. So I'll say, I think this, and if they all go, oh yeah, we agree with that, then we'll go into songs, basically.
Do you fight over it, Tim, ever?
Oh, lots.
Yeah?
It's one of our biggest policies. It's fight as much as possible. Well, I mean, it helps, you know, you get your inhibitions out and that kind of thing. No, we don't really fight much at all, actually. Just about who sits where on the bus. And
what are the sort of things you deal with then? I mean, is it the sort of things that affects everybody in the world? I know you're interested in the Aborigine problem in Australia at the moment. I mean, how does that work out for you? What have you done that way?
It's very hard to do anything at the moment because there's a lot of bureaucracy involved. But working with Gary Foley, who's the head of the Aboriginal Arts Society, and he's trying to do a lot. They're planning a big welcoming for the bicentenary ships that are coming to Sydney Harbour. So obviously they don't have much to celebrate for the bicentenary.
I think perhaps you'd have to explain the Aborigine situation in Australia for the benefit of those who perhaps don't know in this part of the world.
It's pretty hard to explain as well. Basically, it's all factionalised, and there's within their own communities, they disagree in a lot anyway. There's elders who want to stay out in the bush and live a traditional life, and there's young kids who want to run around, blow up buildings, and there's people who wanted to assimilate and are trying to get a fair deal in the Western culture.
And, plus there's a lot of languages too in amongst Aboriginal communities.
Trying to actually save what they have left is the main thing.
What's the percentage of the population? Do you know how many Aborigines?
Minimal. There's only about 300,000 or 400,000 left.
And what, they're fighting for land? They want their land back?
Land, they're getting a lot of land, but what happens to it is the problem. And it's really rights, and being acknowledged for the right reasons. In fact, 2 Aboriginals went to court a few months back, and they were charged for something, and they said, well, try and find anywhere in the law books where it says Aboriginals actually come under law for people. And they searched and searched and couldn't find anywhere. They still charged them.
So they're treated as second-class citizens or less?
Can be.
Yeah, it depends. It's worse
Mm.
in Queensland, I think, than it is, say, anywhere else in the country.
Is that a sort of
Police
a
state.
racist area, a police state?
Yes.
Well,
Pretty bad.
yeah, it's been sort of governed by a pretty out there guy.
Was. In Canada.
To say they're so scared the Australian Secret Service are going to jump on us.
As a band, what can you do about that? Do you attempt to, as the band or individually?
The main thing we can do is, that we feel we can do, is draw people's attention to it as much as possible, and so that people don't just forget about it. But it's very hard to actually do something about it, especially when you're very rarely even there. And when we last were, in fact, they tried arresting Michael. But,
what were you doing at the time?
I was just saying a few words about Joe Bjelke-Petersen, the leader of Queensland, and
throwing a few condoms in the audience.
Throwing things in the audience. He has a hardline policy on contraceptives for kids and stuff, so I don't know. He's out now, anyway. He's been thrown out. He's been in there for 20 years.
Contraceptive machines have been banned in some areas.
Yeah, he did. He banned them in colleges and
That's right, he thinks
unis.
condoms influence people to wanting to have sex. So he must be a pretty kinky guy, I reckon. I don't know about you, but that don't make me feel much like
Do you stand, am I right, you stand to be arrested when you go back into the country, Michael?
I guess they could arrest me, but I think they're just going to serve me at the airport with warrants. I've got to go to court.
You're not troublemakers, are you?
No.
Not really. I mean, we'll stand up for what we believe in, basically.
INXS have just come back from Czechoslovakia. This is what all this is, yeah?
Prague. Yeah.
It still looks like that?
Very much.
Yeah.
Not so smoky, though.
Not so smoky.
It hasn't really changed much since the 40s. There's a couple of new buildings. They were very proud to show us the new buildings and bridges, but we were trying to find this.
Actually, hasn't changed much since the 16th century.
Really?
Yeah.
What's a rock and roll band doing in a country that's perhaps not typically rock and roll then?
Well, actually, there's a lot of rock and roll there, but it's very underground. It's a very strong movement. They have to keep it pretty quiet, though. But we just wanted to go there, and our director, Richard Lowenstein, had been there 2 or 3 times for holidays, and we just wanted to go there and do a couple of film clips. We did 3 by the end.
3 videos.
So, you mentioned something about the underground in Prague there. Is it a very oppressed society?
Well, I went to this, you think it is, really, and I guess it is, but I went to this party, the second last night, we're there at the film school, we're having the Kratsky Film School, and I couldn't believe it. It was like 3,000 people listening to these great bands. They had reggae bands and stuff, and then they had a disco where they brought out, like out of this black case, they brought out Terence Trent D'Arby records and Prince and Rolling Stones, and we were drinking Russian champagne and we danced the night away. It was great. I mean, it was really fantastic.
What's it like day to day? What's the food like over there?
It's pretty. It's a whole new cuisine, yeah.
Let's put it this way: we all got vitamin shots the moment we got back to England.
Yeah, we didn't get many vitamins, but actually the people are very happy. The people are great.
You want to go back there?
Yes,
Yeah,
I do.
Yeah, you're going back, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm going back next year.
Next year?
Yeah, well, there's some fantastic art there. In fact, a lot of the things that are hanging in the Louvre, that are supposed to be originals. The originals are all in like dinky little places over there, little rooms full of Picassos and stuff that are actually the originals. That you just can't take art out of Czechoslovakia very easily.
Finally, why is it, do you think, that Britain has been so long coming? It is happening there, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, what's bizarre is, like, we get audience attendances, like, we have already made it here. We just don't get in the charts like other people. So maybe that's a good thing, I mean, especially when you look at what's in the charts.